Good morning on this bright and sunny day. It's Mother's Day today here in England, and I have some freedom here to comment on what I believe is going on in the world, and not what I believe, but what a lot of people believe. And it's about many things. So let me start. We have a cultural understanding of religion which is now rudimentary. It's indifferent or hostile. And people tend to hear only fanatical fundamentalism. What I'm trying to express is a profound human longing for sense and sanity in a hostile, atheistic society that we have become. Or, for the want of a better word, a degenerate society. That's a fact. Just look around you to see that. Now, I've said this before, I wear a cross, but I'm not particularly religious. However, I attended church as a boy, and I've always followed the Christian principles that I was taught there in church. Even though I've fallen off the rails many times myself, I try to keep a straight and narrow path on decency. And Christian principles are a million miles away from radical fundamentalism. Doing the right thing has always been my philosophy. But, once again, I have to admit I've fallen off the wagon many times. And I have failed in my endeavours. But I always try to rise above it and try once again, even when Black Dog comes sniffing at the door. My optimism fails me regularly, so I look to others for inspiration. And there are few. We all need faith a lot of the time, but I don't mean religious faith. I mean a faith in human nature, and maybe a pat on the back occasionally. And when it doesn't come, optimism runs out, just like the battery in our phones. And when we try to recharge it, sometimes there's nothing available. I'm a lone wolf in a hostile family. And my family, like many others in the world, refuse to admit that they have been fooled by government and a complicit media. I do believe that people are gradually waking up. But maybe that's my positive imagination playing tricks with my doubting Thomas side. Many people ask how can so many countries have been taken in by this propaganda? The answer can be found in a book called Mein Kampf, when the author described Grobe Lüge, which translates as the big lie. And of course it was spread by the king of propaganda at that time, which was Joseph Goebbels. And we all know how that eventually ended. Or did it really end? Since then, there's been a guy called Edward Louis Bernays, and he's written many books on government manipulation. Here is just one of his quotes. The American movie industry is the biggest carrier of propaganda today. It is a great distributor for ideas and opinions. The motion picture can and does influence many people because pictures are made to meet market demands. They reflect, emphasize, and often exaggerate broad popular tendencies rather than stimulate new ideas and new opinions. And tragically, the mainstream media has gone the same way. Instead of news, all we get is propaganda 24/7. The global warming myth has been responsible for many knee-jerk reactions by politicians who just haven't got a clue. Or more likely, they follow orders from the globalists, and there are many, many globalists in Western politicians. Let's face it, us humans will eventually become extinct, largely due to collective mismanagement and madness of clueless individuals. The planet is not in danger. Humans are. And long, long after we've gone, the planet we call home will be just fine and probably survive for another few billion years. Of late, I've heard that a certain leader in the East should be arrested for crimes against humanity. Oh, really? Let's not forget the likes of Obama, probably the worst president ever, excepting Joe Biden, of course, and the crimes of the Clintons, the Bushes, Henry Kissinger, Condoleezza Rice, Tony Blair, Joe Biden. I've mentioned him already, mentioned him twice. He deserves mentioning twice. And the crime syndicate that runs under the coke addict. You know who the coke addict is, I'm sure. All of these people should be held to account, but of course they won't be until such time as the degenerate regime in charge ends. The experiments of the enlightened West on sex change in children, the persecution of doctors who believe that there are only two sexes, the perverted interpretation of juvenile law, the destruction of the institution of the family, the replacement of mum and dad with degenerate terms like parent A and parent B. Mum and dad, for God's sake, what's wrong with people? And the propaganda and perversion amongst minors. All these are not annoying accidents, but a large-scale policy in NATO-loving countries. And those states that, like Hungary, are trying to resist with the alliance and are being subjected to real persecution by the corrupt West. The world is in turmoil, and the politicians just keep telling us that everything will be fine. They're lying to you. They're lying through their teeth to you. Wake up. If you value your savings or even your pension, I suggest you click on the link that I'll leave in descriptions under more. One last thing I must say. I see that Turkey has agreed to allow Finland to join NATO. All I can say is this. NATO may not survive this. So what does Finland do then? Or Sweden? I'm just asking for a friend. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.